Kia whanau, I'm just going to have a bit of a talk to you about how the practice report needs to be done, or what is the difference between a C and an A, and how do you do each section. So to find your practice report, you need to go to the 6206 specialist practice page, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll find here practice report template, and here's me talking to the Wellington students about your practice report. So let's have a look at the template. I've already opened it. So here's the practice report template. It's got a cover page. If you read through it, you'll see that there's sections you should delete, like please delete this box to confirm you've read it. Now, like I say in class, the purpose of these sort of reports is so you get an idea about what sort of writing you can be doing in part of your professional career. Right, introduction, you're going to give us a bit of a purpose of the report. Why are you writing it? You're writing it to gather more information about a particular area. So I have got a few annotations here, so I might put something like, here we go. In this report, I will cover the practice area, specialist practice area. Practice area of community, and in particular youth gangs. I'm interested in what actually are the factors that cause young people to join gangs, and what can we do to address it. So I'll start to write that in, and I'll say, look, I'm writing this report not only for an assignment, but also to enhance my practice at such and such an agency. And there's my emails coming in. Okay, then you get to the methodology section. Now here you want to say, what is your question? So I'm not going to type it all out, because as you see, it's going to take you like hours to see me typing it out. But in this section, you want to be able to put down, hey, the question I looked at is, what is the function of youth gangs? Or what is the function of youth gangs, and how can strength-based approaches be applied? The ways that I used to search for the literature is I created some keywords. These keywords were, and I went onto EBSCO and found X amount of journal articles, and I selected the ones that I thought that I would benefit from, and excluded some of the others. How you went around analysing the literature. So that is, how did you look into it? How did you find the themes? Now, you might just say, I looked across the literature to see what it said, and then I just shaped my whole report out like this. So I found that some of the literature looked at youth gangs and cities, and some of the literature looked at the types of young people that joined youth gangs. Some of the literature talked about the gender of young people in youth gangs. Some of the literature talked about whether young people were actually even gang members. You need to write down how you found themes in the literature. Okay, this is called a thematic analysis. Then we get to the literature review. So this is where it all starts to get big. You want to have 6 to 8 of your resources, and you want to be able to cover all of those questions there. Now, what say you're really stressing? Massively stressing, and what are you going to do? Well, you're going to aim for a C, because you're going to know that C's get degrees. So let's go into my other document where I've written up some annotations. Here I've got 3 annotations. I'm just going to do something here. You can ignore this because you do not use this program, EndNote, which is how I do my referencing. I have to do that again because I didn't know what I was doing. Convert to continue. Right, so let's scroll down here a bit. Make these look a little bit more like annotations for you. I've been busy writing my summaries, and I've only got 3, but 3 will be enough to show you what needs to happen, and that final reference goes with that annotation. So here are my annotations. Now you could put all your annotations out into a document like this, remembering I am now creating a C. So we go right up to the top here. I'm going to paste them, Control X. I'm going to go back to my document, my report. I'm going to select this. I've read it. A C grade will just list one annotation after the other. A B grade will move from reading to reading, so from annotation to annotation, but will show how you've found themes and group your readings to take me on a journey. And A will focus on themes and synthesis. So we'll get down to that point soon. You ready? So got my annotations. I have now pasted them in. I'm aiming for a C, remember here. First thing I have to do is get this other mouse. Select the reference, take it out, and put it in the reference list. Next one is Eagleston. Now that has to go into alphabetical order. So we'll put the Eagleston there. Miller. Goes after Eagleston. Ministry of Youth Development will go after Miller. So there's some references in my reference list. Now, the literature review is just telling the reader what you have found out. So we now need to separate the literature review from the lessons for practice and the annotations. So here we go. We look at the first one, which is white. That bit there is the only bit that is a real lesson for my practice. So I'll stick that in there. Put a couple of lines in. Next one. From that point on, that is my lesson for my practice. Put that in. And then this one, that is my lesson for practice. So there you go. I've got an introduction that I've started. My methodology is going to tell you what I've done. The literature review, I'm aiming for a C, so I've just dumped my annotations in. And I've taken the references out. I've put them at the back, at the end of the report, taken my lessons out, and already it looks like I've completed something. Okay. Now, I want to get this from a C to a B, so that's what I'm going to change now. So I look at them and I see what the themes are. We've got one from Australia, one from New Zealand, and one from the USA. One is about numbers. So I might put this one first, because often it's good to get the big picture. Youth development starts at the big picture, research starts at the big picture, and this report explores the growth, and then I will now try and link this paragraph into this paragraph. So instead of going in this journal article, I will go focusing only on Australia. White explores the intersection between gang life. What I've now done is said, here's the big picture, US. Focusing only on Australia has taken me from the US to Australia, and then we can actually even go to the point of saying, like White, Eagleston was interested in the experiences of youth in gangs. She presents the result of her research into youth gangs. So I've gone Australia, US, Australia, New Zealand, voila. That's a B literature review. Now let's get this lessons for practice. You're going to have to do this for a C. You're going to still have to put a reference in. So White, 2001, findings. Are really important for me. Oh no, what date was White? 2009. No. Wilson. Eagleston's. 2000 research, while Miller's 2001. So what I've now done is told the reader exactly what lesson for practice comes from not reading. So White 2009's findings are really important for the work in areas like Wainoa where young people are often seen as gang members, which are Eggleston's research. That's a C, okay? Now let's shift this from a C, the lessons to practice, to a B. We'll try to keep it in the same area. Right. Well, Miller's research hasn't paper. And I want to be a bit of not formal gangs. Now I'm going to change this. I'm not going to have it in the same order. Because remember, it says, the way I finished it, this has been found in New Zealand by Gilbert as increasingly young people want to be in a gang but are not formal research. Eggleston's research, we're shifting it now. It was this sense of wannabe, belonging that came through in Eggleston's research. Oh, look at that. A spelling mistake. So it was this sense of wannabe belonging that came through in Eggleston's research. So you can see that wannabe makes me go into a journey to the next paragraph in Eggleston's influence. Right. Miller So I made that journey. So we got while Miller's report does not relate to New Zealand, and then that reflection, well actually young people do want to be in gangs and they might not be gang members. The sense of wannabe belonging came through Eggleston's research, and the need to understand American culture and subroots. So Miller and Eggleston are talking to each other now, and White also found, like Eggleston and Miller, that youth from minorities are often found in gangs. So I'm linking all of that together, okay? So all my lessons there are nicely linked together, okay? So if that's a C, this is now a B. How do I turn this into an A? This is when it requires you to really understand what is in the readings. So I know that Miller mainly focuses on statistics and has found that in periods of time like the 1970s and 1990s there has been a growth in gangs. But I've also found that Miller also talks about youth in urban ethnic minorities being in gangs. So that could be a key theme across all the literature. So a key theme across the literature reviewed was this idea that minority youth tend to be minority youth in urban centres are the key group of youth in gangs. Now I know that Miller says that, so I know all three say it, so let's get this right. It has to be in alphabetical order. And it has to be after the bracket, Fiona. Not in the middle of nowhere. I should have turned my email off. Eggleston, 2000. Miller, 2002. Alright, get this right. Semicolon, delete. So the semicolon separates complete references. The comma just separates information in the reference. White. You don't need an and now. 2009. Key groups, Uber syndicate. Miller reported. Miller. Have to repeat this again, sorry, because all of those dumped in. You now need to tell the reader which reading you're actually looking at directly. Miller, 2002, looked specifically into youth numbers across 3 decades. He found and actually we can actually cover this. I'm not going to be using Miller a lot, I have to be really honest, because he's only looking at statistical trends. So in contrast, Eagleson, still in the same paragraph, looked at gang experiences in Atara and found that her sample predominated, that means came from, urban centres with ethnic minority youth, white, getting that reference in here, found a similar situation in Australia. Now, both Eagleson and White don't expand quite heavily on statistics, so we'll actually finish with this. While Miller, I won't need a reference now, concentrated on statistics, the qualitative, and you'll know what that means now, the nature, qualitative being stories, quality of Eagleson and White mean that no statistical conclusions can be made from their observations. White, now getting on to my next theme, 2009, and Eagleson, 2000. Explore with the minorities and gangs. Inner gangs, we'll go up here. Right. A gang enabled a sense of belonging. While White did not talk about belonging, he did find that in a sense belonging is a function in White as racism is the condition of racism pushed them into the gang for belonging. Now, and a thematic analysis might go a bit deeper into some of the other themes that you might find across the literature, but that's basically it. You're trying to find, well, when does the literature say one thing, and how does it relate to everything? Okay. Lessons for practice. So I'll just leave that there just in case I want to use some of that. But one of the key lessons I know I've taken from even just reading these 3 texts is think about belonging. So it is clear that one reason to join a gang is belonging. Now, I'm wanting my A, remember? Alphabetical order, Fiona. Alphabetical order. Right. We bring a sense of belonging for minority youth in our church community. At the moment, we do little side of Friday youth group. One way that we could enhance this would be partnering with community organisations such as the Marae or the Community Centre. We could explore what belonging means both for our church community and in other cultural settings. Without a deeper sense of belonging, have I got a comma in there? No. We run the risk of alienating youth through conditions of racism, such as those brought about by white. So I'll just read that out for you. You'll see here I've shown some skills of synthesis of looking across the readings to see what one lesson could be for my practice. It is clear one reason to join gangs. Good to always read your work out loud because you find just mistakes. It's clear that one reason to join gangs is belonging. Reference Eagleson 2000, White 2009. How do we bring a sense of belonging for minority youth in our church community? So engaging in some of those questions and then providing the answer. At the moment, we do very little or do little outside of Friday Youth Group. One way that we could do this better, so I'll add in a word there, would be partnering with the community organisations such as the Marae or the Community Centre. We could explore what belonging means for both our church community and other cultural settings, Without a deeper sense of belonging, we run the risk of alienating youth through conditions of racism such as those talked about by white. Now, when it comes to statistics, I could say something like this. Miller, we know from the readings that statistics may not give us the real picture. And that's White and Miller. So how do we get the real picture? Well, perhaps one way of getting that real picture is by talking to young people about themselves and their worlds, doing stuff like eco-mapping and seeing what's important, but understanding that one of those 4 worlds might actually be the media. So how do we get a picture of that, and how do we discuss that with young people? Here are some ideas I have around that, and then dumping that in. Doing that all right way for my practice. Now I might have 4 or 5 really good lessons for practice. I get to the recommendation section, and in that section I'm summarising the key findings, quick summary, and I provide 5 recommendations. Now, they may come out of my lessons or practice. So I might decide, 1, to recommend to our youth pastor that some community asset mapping is done so that we are able to see the areas and spaces that give young people a sense of belonging. 2, that I'm sent away on a cultural course to understand more about tikanga and youth development. 3, we partner with amazing Welltech students such as Peter in the 3rd year, who's already working with youth gangs in Batoni to find out the sorts of stuff that he's doing to enable belonging. 4, that we continue to do research in this area. Right, so that's the report. Now when you get to the reference list, remember, like, that's going to get me bad marks. So I'm just going to fix this reference up. I'm just going to make it plain text. So come here to normal, normal, normal. You're not going to do it. So it's a journal. It's on a spine. So you're reluctant. I'll put that in italics. And there we are. So that is how to get a C, B and A report. Don't panic. This is a passable assignment. As you can see, it's passable. Just don't panic, but get it in whānau.